procedure for follow-up that people know what to expect when. The when, I think, is
That's important too.
important, yeah.
And that step 5 for those who don't have is the after the meeting kind of
Mhm.
follow-up, yep.
And then send it back to participants and the community at large for comment.
Do we have a few minutes? Would it be possible to start brainstorming some topics that we could prioritize? Because I think picking a date is more straightforward, but what do we want to talk about is more difficult perhaps for us to discuss.
I would suggest taking the parent survey, because there was a brief wrap-up by Randy, and there were, I think, 5 items of concern or growth that could be done. And in our first listening session, structure it so that people can come in and talk about each of those items and how they feel there needs to be improvement on, or feelings.
I like that idea because in step 5, when you're talking about, let me find it. It's talking about after the meeting, which this is like a cyclical thing, and it says, I read it, the board will get input back from staff to set priorities based on the public input. The board then makes the draft priorities accessible for review and comment. So it's almost like a cycle where we get input and then we move forward based on that. We set our priorities based on input. So that seems to be what we're doing if we look at that survey.
Just a question. Is it parents or is it also staff or also students? When you say survey, is it all 3 of those or?
Well, look at step 3. This is, how do we do that? How do we do step 3, kind of going to your question? How do we bring those voices forward?
Well, I think with staff, we have staff meetings. We have meetings already, but we don't necessarily have one for parents. So I can see that, if we ask and we ask for their input in a survey, that we, share that information. And I think it is a great opportunity and a great time to do that, to share, but then also get more input.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to overstep our role as the board, but I would imagine administration will be there too. So I don't know if we want to be clear that this is for parents or guardians feedback, or would we also open it up to students or also open it up to teachers? I don't know.
I think a listening session is open to whoever
Wants
is
to
going to
come.
participate.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I
it-
do say, like when I'm in step 3, it says send invitations, and it could be personal invitations to a community specifically. So it's open to interpretation there.
For example, if we are 60%, or I think, 40% African or African American?
We're about 56% students of color.
Students of color, okay. So how do we do that invite? How do we create space for those people? We have to invite.
Yes.
Right, we have to invite different than solicit.
And are you saying maybe it's not just an email, it's like something
Postcard.
else? Or?
Postcard or something, I think.
Postcard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
outreach, I don't know. That's why I think it's so critical to just have administration kind of helping us. Can we do this by ourselves?
No, it has to be
Yeah.
a team effort with administration.
They give guidelines about how many. It says recommend keeping the invitations to no more than 200 people. That's in step 3, a little further down, about halfway down. They talk about how to divide it into groups, I think
Would we
they
have
give us-
multiple sessions, or are we naive to think that we'd have more than 200 show up? I guess, have we ever had Does anyone know? Have
That
we
would be
ever had?
amazing.
Well, if we do it
That would be
during open
amazing.
house, what an opportunity to have anybody just walk in, but still give out those personal invitations too.
Yeah.
Pulling up the drafts of the minutes from last meeting, it has the list of areas of growth. One being stakeholder input, communication with family, students showing respect for each other, safety, quality of facilities, behavior of students, competitive pay for staff. The big ticket items I think that we could really hold is the stakeholder input and communication could be one topic, safety could be another. When it comes to student behavior, that comes back to administration implementing more operational type strategies. So right there, we have two topics we can
Yeah.
really dive into. The quality of facilities, that's coming with our growth plan. So that's I think another listening session.
And the open house is for all grades or just the
Yes,
incoming?
all grades.
All grades. To come and meet the teachers and everything, right?
Yep.
What day is that? It's sometime in August?
The Thursday before, the last Thursday of the month,
I think it's
or when.
the 31st.
August 31st? Okay. Would it, and just thinking how that could work, if we have a quorum of board members, then we would post it, but that's easy enough. We can post a meeting.
Trouble is the teachers have to be in their room.
Mm.
So this would be a listening session for community and parents. And then we could do a rotation with the teachers to ensure that there's a teacher in there and we can keep it under quorum. And then we just bring it back to our next meeting with a report of what was discussed.
I think it's okay to have quorum as long as we post it as a meeting. But maybe if people are coming in and out, we have to keep track of when they're coming and going. Is it something where, as a teacher, you can have hours in your room, or do you got to be there that whole time?
I mean, technically we have to be there the whole time, but
Okay.
if we.
It's run different every year though too, so I mean,
But that's the charter school, we take on many roles, so.
Right. Figure something out too. I mean,
I'm thinking, okay, myself, I have a counterpart, Lori, who could take over for that hour if I
Yeah.
needed there.
I don't want to add to the day, Wendell, but I'm wondering if we just put something in the back end, maybe? So like, teacher board members could step out for the last half hour or something like that and just make it clear to the parents. I don't know. This is something we can talk about later, but I would
Well,
love the idea that most of the board is able to listen somehow, some way, or we can do it like in shifts as well.
well, and I don't know how we're going to do it, but like the last few years, it's been a long chunk of the day. And so,
It's 3 to 7.
yeah, so,
Hours.
and if
For
people are
teachers, an
coming,
hour.
is after work a better time for most people,
Yeah,
probably?
probably.
Maybe beforehand.
I don't know if you want it to be the last thing, I think you gotta think about when are the most people going to be here. I don't know when that is. You know, it's different every
And with
year.
open house, we do have tables and stuff set up in the gym for transportation, PTO. You know, there's a lot of stuff already occurring in the gym, so would we use a great hall? I mean, but that doesn't seat as many. So I mean, I just want to throw that out there too. We'd have to think about, so maybe before or after, maybe easier.
Is
For
the
that reason.
format that we're envisioning one where, because like we already have open forum, one individual can come and speak to the board, right? So I don't think we're talking about replicating that. I think it's more of a discussion. I think the critique of open forum is that, one of them is that you come and you share your piece and then you leave and you're not left with the feedback, right? Because that's not how open forum works. So this is meant to be different. This is meant to be more of a dialogue, I think. And I feel it can be with an individual. We can't speak as a board, but we can have a conversation with individuals as long as we post it as a meeting, I believe.
I would be very cautious of that because we cannot make decisions the same day.
Agreed. And that's what I'm saying. So I think we can have a discussion, but we can't make decisions as a board at that session. It's more of just like, let's listen and
But
provide.
if you tell the parent something that the rest of us don't agree with,
Yeah.
that's going to cause a lot of conflict. So a listening session is just that, a listening session.
We would have to get together and collaborate on
It'd be part of a
systematic
workshop.
responses, which, goes back to our,
Follow up.
yeah,
Yeah.
fundamental
Yeah.
goal that we can't seem to.
So maybe that's an idea as we take notes, be more obvious or overt about how, or big, sheets, or writing down feedback and comments. This is item 12, item 13, or whatever, and we can start like a little track list. Some things we can't answer, right? I mean, if it's questions about closed meetings or what have you, that we're not able to speak to that. But other things we can, and provide some feedback.
Yeah, well, we could say, we could say why we can't speak to that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think even that would help. But couldn't we do it at workshop time?
The discussion after would be
Mhm.
during the workshop time.
Yeah.
Sorry, are you saying for board
So-
meetings?
Well, we have a listening session. If we do it in August at the back-to-school night, then our meeting would be 2 weeks later,
Hmm.
right?
September,
We have to agree on the dates.
Yeah, we haven't talked about dates.
Yeah,
But
okay, okay.
It would be the workshop time. for that
Sometimes
next
it's in
meeting
For
in
that next
September.
meeting.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
But if we're just there listening, taking notes, I can't see, or I can see why I can justify having rotation with the teachers, so that way,
Mhm.
if they're just there taking
Yeah.
notes.
And I also feel better about transferring the information, because if, board member A hears something that may not get to the other board members unless we do a good job of taking notes, then I would feel better about rotation also. Other comments? So can we agree that we will be there in some form or fashion on that open house night? Is that what I'm hearing? As many of us as can be, and then we will need to post the meeting as an open meeting, assuming we have a quorum somewhere there. It may not make sense to be live streamed, but at least we will be there together, available to the public. Yeah.
I think it would be hard to live stream just because it's so hard to hear in the
Sure.
gym. But we can definitely share it out.
With the idea right now, I think the invitation would be nice to say, we heard you with the surveys, here's a few of the top items, come with ideas about these, or I would leave it open to any other thing you want to discuss, but here's the main ones that we'd like to hear back from you on. Is that okay? Okay. Then let's make that happen. Good. Anything else for the workshop? Otherwise, I'm going to break us at pretty much 6 o'clock. So we will end our workshop at 6 o'clock. We'll take a 15-minute break. Can you pause YouTube? All right. Welcome, everyone, to the June 20th, 2023 MSA School Board meeting. I have now called the meeting to order at around 6:15. So I will read the mission and vision tonight. So for our vision to be an innovative, sustainable model of academic excellence for all students that creates well-rounded, lifelong learners and global citizens. And for our mission, we provide accelerated and inclusive curricula and instructions in all subjects with an emphasis on math and science. Wendell, can you read our land acknowledgement, please?
We'd like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the land of the Ochiti-Shaka-We, the people of the Seven Council Fires, and the Wapakotai Band. It is within MSA's responsibility and an academic institution to disseminate knowledge about Indigenous peoples and their history with this land. MSA works to build relationships with our Native American students and families through academic pursuits and historical recognition.
Thank you. So now we're item 7, roll call of members. Dan Ellingson here, Wendell Sutton
Here.
EJ Johnston is absent, Maggie Bergrath,
Here.
Teresa Ward,
Here.
Hedo Patel,
Here.
Stephanie Lukey.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum, we can continue, and no student members this month or for the summer. We'll start over with new ones in September. So maybe we can add the new names and mention starting in September as we draft the new agenda. So now, item 8, conflict of interest. Anyone conflict of interest tonight that you're aware of? Nope. Then approval of agenda is next. I had a couple things I'd like to make a motion that, or I would like to ask that we remove or move policy 421 as a new policy to discussion, so it would be the end of the discussion section. I think all the other ones were revisions, and 421 was a new one.
I did want to pull 419 off.
419, let me make a note. Can we do, let's see. So do you want to do 419 first, and then 420 would be?
Move it from
Oh,
consent.
let's see, it actually, it doesn't matter, so it would be after F, if you guys are all right with that, because we have kind of the old board, new board movement. So if you're okay, after F, that would be, boy, what do you want to do there? F-2, something like that? Is that okay with you guys? Instead of renumbering everything? So what I'm saying is, we have the question for the board as the organizational meeting date, and then if we approve that, then we have the organizational meeting tonight, and that's for the new board members and the seats.
Can I make a motion to make it simplified?
So,
I'd like to remove 17C, as the EAs and the office staff have already been offered their wage increase, and so I'd like to table it until a later time. And then we could just make C.
Yeah, the only question is the board would still approve, even if it's already been discussed. Normally, to make it official, the board would approve the salaries. Are you saying to take C off and put it in as
Table
next month?
C for a later time. And then the new C would be policy 419.
We have 419 and then we have 421, was it? Make sure we get this right. 421 is the one I asked for, and you would ask for 419, correct?
419, yes. So, what are we doing about Mrs. Bergraff and Mrs. Ward on first read policies? They're still
voting.
gonna do
They're
the
voting,
first read.
yeah.
Okay,
They're
okay,
not
okay.
up until the
Yeah.
end of the meeting.
Yeah, got it.
Oh, sorry,
Okay.
I wasn't following the question. Yep,
Mhm,
okay.
yeah.
So table the content in 17C and replace with policies 419 and 421.
Yes.
I guess, Randy, is there any reason why you need that discussed tonight? Okay.
It should have been included with the teacher salary,
Okay.
but because it wouldn't go in effect until 24, 25, we can hold off on it.
Should
Doesn't
it
have to happen.
have just been a consent agenda item?
technically, I guess.
So then I'll capture it in the future updates as a consent agenda item, which is 17CI and II. Okay.
So will it, the next time will be a consent agenda?
Yeah. 17CI and II. Okay, so for those of you following along, 419 and 420 are now item C.
17C.
17C, yep, and then the original 17C will be handled as a consent agenda. Later. Okay. Good. And the only other thing is, on the closed session, it's a question for the group. We scheduled 30 minutes. I was assertive or aggressive in timing, and we didn't get all of our topics covered in 30 minutes. So the question to the group is, do you want to have another discussion on the back end, or do you want to take it in July or a special meeting? Just quick, as we're trying to align on the discussion, because I was hoping to get through all in 30 minutes. We didn't.
I think the most ethical thing to do is to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
get it done today.
Then I would put it on the back
Old
end.
business, yeah.
Yeah, it is old business.
Then it's old business.
So can I propose then that we go to closed session again, same topics, same reason, because I believe we can because we posted it,
Mhm.
that we would have a meeting tonight on the closed session. But then the only other thing would be the old board, new board.
Well, Mrs. Burgraff's leaving
6:45.
6:40. Yeah, we would have to do it before we seat the new board,
Mhm.
even if Mrs. Burgraff is absent. We don't need to have all members present to have
Yeah.
a closed meeting.
Just a quorum.
Just a quorum, so.
Right. Yeah, so the proposal would be to close it in the middle and then open it again?
Mhm.
For
Or-
organizational meeting July.
Oh, yeah, we haven't dealt with that.
We have to get through G before we can get through H.
I know, but don't you think we need to do B2, 1B2? Sorry, 1 lowercase b, 2 little i's.
2 lines.
We could do it at the end of the meeting
With the
and do
June board?
July, do
With
July
the-
organizational meeting? Or we could do it earlier. I mean, we could approve the agenda and do it. I don't know, what is everybody?
It's why it was at the beginning, because we were changing boards, and so I know it's not great, but was the hope was that we could knock those out and then be clean in the back end. But,
There's a couple of things that need to be discussed, and it comes with moving some other things. I was also going to motion to move 17E into the organizational meeting. So that could be a discussion with the new board. We also
Okay.
have to take into consideration 17F. As it stands, this candidate is still a parent through the school until June 30th. Am I correct, Randy?
Well, that's what we discussed at our governance meeting, because when we discussed the parent seat, because we said, well, what happens to a parent if the graduation is, if their last child is a senior, and they graduate on June 2nd, they can't, now they're no longer a parent, because they graduated, so now they're not a parent seat in the June meeting. So we said, no, they'll be considered a parent till June 30th. So it kind of goes the same way the other way. We can't do it one way for one. You know
is
what I
there
mean?
any
That's-
concern with
but I
making
mean,
it contingent on July 1st? I guess, does anybody
So,
have?
here's the thing, it's not that we considered it, it's that they are actually enrolled. They still have it, they would still have a student enrolled. Like when my son graduated this year, he is still enrolled until the end of the month. Not because we're considering him enrolled, but just because he really is.
And the bylaws
Right.
language says enrolled in MSA.
Mhm.
And they're enrolled until June 30th after Joelle has filed with the state.
Because also for activities in June, like track meets and other things, they need to be considered a student to participate after graduation. So that's why they're considered a student till June 30th for activities as well.
Is there any difference with the new board members that we will see effective July 1?
Maybe we should just do it July 1, because, for example, if Mary
That's another one.
starts in June, what happens if you start in June? You lose a month. Our bylaws would need to say, you'll still have Joey enrolled. You'll have a child enrolled for 3 years.
So,
So for a
In that
month,
instance,
we'll have a
yeah.
gap.
so in that instance, Mary's student will graduate in June. So is Mary off the board then right away in June? Not next year, but the year after. Is Mary off the board as of, I'm just saying, as an example.
As an example.
Is she on the board until the end of the month, or is she on the board until Joey graduates?
It's June 30th.
Right.
It's in-
36 full months.
Yes, so that's why we're saying.
But that was because it's now it's in the bylaws, right? Like, because we had the same
We tried to
conversation
clarify it.
about, yeah, we had to clarify it because because if it's till the end of June, then they're here for that full cycle of the,
Let's be careful with the process, because I think right now we need to get the agenda sorted, and then we can take the topics. Is that okay? So I think they're good questions, and I'm fine that we take them, but we take them when we have the discussion section. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So the motion right now is to move 17E, which was the student representative, down to the organization section. And was there other agenda corrections, additions? So I have.
Closed
Just
session.
technical, the open the meeting should have happened before the open forum.
Yeah, and I mentioned, I think 5:30 or 5:31?
Yeah, it's just incorrect in the agenda, so we need to adjust
Flip
that.
the 2. Flip 3 and 2.
Yeah, we opened the meeting and we started YouTube afterwards, right?
Yes.
After so could add 3B or something.
Well, I think you just need to switch 3 and 2,
Okay.
right?
Except for the YouTube wasn't on for the open forum,
Oh.
which is why that was afterwards. But you're right. Okay.
And then we
So
need
I
to-
have quite a few changes.
No, it's-
Any other?
Yeah, we have to add a closed session. As, I mean, I think it's important, so earlier, I mean, we have some things that we could, like, for example, first read policies, we could delay if we're short on time. They're all just 400s.
You mean move 419 and 420? Because the other ones are in the consent agenda.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So put 419 and 420 later?
421 later.
Or 421, sorry.
And then if we don't have time for it. I'm just trying to if we can prioritize the old business, we have to get the old business done before we can.
Yep.
And depending on how we do the organizational meeting, in the governance committee, when we were looking at the bylaws, we always envisioned new members starting in July and running for 3 years. So do we want to do a special meeting on July 1st? So everybody, so the 36-month terms, or do we want to add a clause to the bylaws that says, or until a successor is seated? And then we
Good.
don't have that gap. So then, like, for example, Mary would sit for 37 months if that third year's board decides that they're not going to do their organizational meeting or seat until July. Do you see what I mean?
Yep, but I'm wondering if we can just agree on the agenda and then we can go through. So I think you're trying to get there. I just don't want to talk about the specific questions we have until we get to that part.
Okay. we're
what about a
shooting with these
proposal,
things.
which is the closed session, just in order to keep it smooth? We run through the agenda, so H, what would that, I, would that be 17I? Would be another closed session, or we could make it something before future board items, so that we can release the new board, and, because they're not in effect yet, and we can release the public, and we can go back to closed session. Would that work for everyone?
We can't do the closed session with the new board. It
That's
has
what I'm
to be-
saying. We release the new board members because they're not in effect yet. They don't start until July. We can't have them
But if
creeping into
you're-
the June.
I'm confused.
17.
Because if 17H says to seat the new members,
Oh, yeah, we'd have to make it 17H and make HI. Do you see? H is, well, actually G, which we could do. We could leave G as G, make H the closed session, and then make I, depending on what
We
was
can.
decided up
What I
here.
would, what I would ask then is that we put like a time limit on it, because it's not fair to hold people just waiting for us to come back from closed session.
or we just do H in July.
Well, but
Well,
that's
we'll
for us
vote
to
on that.
decide with G.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll vote on that
Yeah.
in G.
Yep.
Okay.
What do you think? Flexible? Or we just need an agenda to work from?
Legally, we can make adaptations to the agenda throughout the meeting, correct?
I mean, this is the time.
I know it's time,
Yeah.
With majority vote?
yeah, with majority vote.
What about, G2? We have a discussion about where the best spot is to put a closed meeting. Would that be okay with you guys? So we can just decide at that time, once we know more, after G, but before H. I think that's where, it seems like it wants to fit.
So let's just decide that it will be in G.
Okay, it could
It
be.
will be decided during G, or?
It will be in G. The closed session will be in G.
But after I and II, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we could just make it G.
G3.
Three.
G little,
Okay.
three
Yeah.
little I's.
I'm okay with G3. G3 is closed meeting alignment plan, decision, something like that. Did you get
Well,
that?
you just take the language that's up on
Okay.
the top. What does
Yeah,
it say?
continuation, how about that?
Mhm.
Closed meeting continuation. Okay, so let me repeat, anything else? I have, did we decide 419 and 420 we keep for next?
We're 21, C.
For now it's on C, okay. So
17C.
the changes that I've captured are 17C will now be 419 and 421. I have G3, which is a continuation of the closed meeting. And I have 17E, which is the student representative role discussion, has been moved down to the organizational meeting. Does that sound right? Okay. Oh wait, I have, yes, okay, and then I put the future items of consenting 17C, I, and II, the salaries, okay? All those in favor of the agenda as amended, say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, you did mention G, three
G3,
little I's?
yep, G3 is a closed meeting continuation.
Okay, all right.
Okay, are you for it? Okay, I think then it's opposed, abstain, you abstain?
Yep.
Okay, one abstention. All right, passes, is it 1, 2,
5,
3,
1.
4, 5 to 1?
5-0-1.
Okay. 5-0-1, thank you, yeah. Great, good discussion. So let's get going through these. So we are at now approval of minutes. Anyone like to make a motion, approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from May board meeting.
A second?
I noticed one spelling issue.
Is it my name?
Nope, it was number 4, though it says.
Second
Oh.
before we discuss it?
I
I did.
I seconded
Oh,
it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, yeah. It's number 4, it just says ready instead of red. But, sorry.
I think I saw one Ellington, but I'm okay.
Huh?
Instead of Ellingson.
Yeah, ready by instead of red.
I have one too, but I'll let Steph. It's fine.
Trying to figure this out.
Okay, what are the what's your amendment? What?
Number 4, it says land acknowledgement ready by Ellingson, but it should be read by.
Okay.
In item 6, the vote was 3 yes, 5 no, and it should be 3 yes, 4 no.
Three yes, 4 no.
That's what it says.
The one I
Mine
saw,
says 5.
The no's should be 4. Item 6.
My amendment is I was in attendance at the workshop and I'm not listed.
Yeah, as long as you got it, then just change all Ellingtons to Ellingson.
It's the second part of 6. That starts on the third page.
Any other changes?
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that we get this right on the 6th,
Which one are we talking about?
the vote.
Which,
Was it yes 3, no 5, abstain 0?
It's 8, no, 7. Isn't it?
Sorry, say that
When
again?
they have 7 members,
Yeah, you're right.
not 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, it should be 4 no's.
Yes, correct. Yeah. Got you, sorry.
And that's the motion on page
Sorry, yeah.
3. Because there's 2 under there.
anything else? You good, Heather?
Mhm.
Okay. All those in favor with the changes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Okay, that one passes 6-0. Chair's report, just 2 things. One was, a number of us had a chance to attend the graduation ceremony, and just wanted to say that went really well, so thanks to the administration for all that planning, and the students did a fantastic job, so it was really fun to be a part of that, so thanks for letting us be a part of that special day. I thought it was about the right length of time, and people did a great job with their, not all the speeches, I can't say for mine, but the students and the teachers did a great job, so that was fantastic experience, and again, continues to make us proud. The closed meetings, we had a comment tonight, normally we don't respond, but I think it's a fair critique that we've had a number of closed meetings, and we're trying to wrap that up so you can hear us. We're also, I wouldn't say frustrated, but we're trying to get through some topics that has taken longer than we thought, so please bear with us, because it is one thing that we can't comment on. Until it's closed, or finally finished, and then we can come back with a statement of here's what we talked about. So other than right now, we're just saying here's the topics, okay? So apologies for that. And it does not look great, but that's where we're at right now, so. Then I'm no student reps this one, so the director's report.
Okay, well, a couple things. One, I put the enrollment trackers to see where we're at with enrollment. I included the honor roll numbers, as you can see. So we had 504 students that made the honor roll. 110 were on the honor roll, 228 on the high honor roll, and distinguished 166. We held the elections for our student representatives, and our MSA student representatives for the board will be Joseph Ayala and Josh Balami for next year. I included the ABC update. We had one, so we have some work being done in the school, so that's all in there. We're adding some extra additional learning spaces and addressing some parking lot needs and so forth. And we'll have some money remaining that we're not spending it all, so we have some remaining for future use. Just an update for hiring. So we changed instead of using Indigo for our special education director services, Jill Ann Raymond will be our special ed director because she is licensed in that area. And also it allows us, because we're not using all of our federal special education funds because Indigo is only $26,000, but now we can pay all of her salary out of federal funds. We're leaving money on the table. So financially, it's a better deal for us, even though it's sped money. but it allows us to make maintenance of effort much easier by switching that around since she is licensed, but you still have Indigo for consultation. So I just wanted to update with that. it's a
So is she an
change here.
employee of Indigo or is she an employee of MSA?
She's an employee of ours. She always, yep. So, but she'll be able to receive some consultation her first year here with that. So that's a little change, but it allows us to use our money much more efficiently. And last, but we had South Washington South Washington County Telecommunications Commission. They wanted to highlight our school, so they were here in May. They did some taping, interviews of staff, students. They did some candid shots here and there. So I included the link. So that will be airing on their, on channel 18 on their cable television. Little excerpt about Math and Science Academy. They also gave us permission to use it on our website. So it's going to be when we don't have to pay anything for it, that's a huge savings too. So we'll be able to put that on our link on our website. So instead of showing it now, I know we have a pretty big agenda, but it's there, and so parents can view it too. So it was really nice. It's about 5 minutes long.
I wonder in our notes for the YouTube, just an idea, could we add that link? Sometimes people put,
Yep.
no, it's here, I'm saying in YouTube, in the description.
sure.
Maybe IT could help us just add that little link so people can see it when
Put it
they.
on the website and so forth.
Yeah, on the website, but I'm saying on the YouTube, if they click on it, sometimes you have a description of, what's included in here. You could actually put a link there, people can click
Okay.
over to it.
Like uploaded in the YouTube channel.
Yeah, put the URL in the YouTube description. Does that make sense? Just so that when you see the description of the video, you'll see this link, because they may not know to click to your file and then click again.
Oh,
Oh,
gotcha.
for this
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah, for this meeting.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Just an idea.
Okay. That's it.
Questions? Good. Very good, thank you. Next up, item 13, board committees. So as per usual, more for questions. So if you guys have questions, otherwise, hopefully you had a chance to read through the notes. Any questions for the governance policy? Questions for facility? Any questions for finance? If not, then we do have to take a pause. I guess any questions? Otherwise, we'll turn it over to Linda.
We were supposed to get the paperwork for our lease aid letter from Dustin. It didn't come today, so technically we should have removed that and tabled it for next meeting, but it's there.
You did want to say he's going to email it to everybody, so hopefully when we get that, just so you're aware of it, so look in your email. Dustin will be sending that to each of the board members, so it works really well, so you get the email to sign your
DocuSign.
assurances. Yeah, for
Is
the-
it something from Dustin?
Yep, and we'll make sure that it gets to the new board members
Yes.
instead of these.
Because if I remember last year, it came from a little bit crazy
weird.
email, and I wasn't sure if we should sign, right? So,
We'll send out an email. in
Okay,
advance,
that's
so you know
helpful.
about it.
I'll keep an eye out for it.
Sorry.
As far as our finances, I mean, end of the year, everything looks really tight because it's supposed to. But we do have a healthy cash balance, meeting our bond compliance. At the end of May, we are at the 91.67 percentile. There is $141,818 owed to the MSA building company yet, and that will be coming out later this month. We had discussion on the social studies curriculum, and we worked it out so that their request for $54,000 in curriculum would be spread out over a number of years, because a lot of it is just renewals of online materials. And so that's something the Finance Committee and Administration is going to look at moving forward, is how much of our curriculum is renewal, and divvy out how we spend on curriculum. And that's something we're working on. Prior year carryover, we had 171,976. That's being carried over. Our revenues are about 93.3, so we're just ahead of our target a little bit. Several items that are very close to approaching the budget, but not areas of concern. Our expenditures are actually under. We're at 89.9. At the end of the month, our ADM was 54.19. I did ask Justin and Randy just kind of give some glows and grows of the year. And Dustin said that the biggest one was in our enrollment. He saw a lot of schools actually see a decrease in enrollment, so having a steady enrollment has been a huge accomplishment for us. The biggest grow that we need is capacity. We are pushing our limits and we need to expand. We had a clean audit. We do need to dive more into our alternative funding options. There was great collaboration with Bergen, and they've been great with this turnover and educating everybody who needs to be educated. And then the teacher pay scale was a positive, but it's also a growth because there's still a lot of work to be done, and we need to work on our budget to ensure that we can continue to grow. We'll talk about the final draft of the budget later in our 5-year projection. We do have, at the end of the year, we're looking at just under $20,000 in our fund balance and reserve, which is pushing us really close. And it's something that's going to be monitored because at the end of the year, we still have to pay out a 403B match as well as our PTO, which is approximately $120,000. So it's going to be tight, but it's something we're going to pay attention to moving in next year's budget.
Just a quick comment, so Maggie Berger does have to leave. We still have a quorum, so I have noted 6:45. Thank you. So I guess questions?
I have a question. No info, or maybe you did and I just don't remember. What's going on with that COVID grant? The retention.
The retention grant,
Retention grant.
we are approved for it, we just won't receive it for another 9 to 12 months.
And it's not reflected in any projections?
No, yeah, we have to act as if we don't have it. Mhm.
Did you want to talk through the financial report separately? Or do you want to?
I covered most of it.
Okay, no, that's fine. I mean, but we should motion to approve.
I have motion to approve the May finances.
I can second. Further questions, discussion? It almost looks fake if you look at the page 4 where we track so well. I think we do a really, really good job of, I mean, what we think we were going to spend and then what we spend, we do a great job. So well done to the finance team and administration. And as you mentioned, our enrollment throughout the year looks pretty steady. All those in favor of approving the finances in May, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained, so it passes 5-0. Great. And we are up to, is it the consent? Yep, consent agenda is item 14. So everything minus the policy 421 and 419 are removed. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Stephanie?
I'm going to abstain because I honestly have looked at all of these compared and I can't tell the difference. And I can't vote on the things I
Okay.
can't tell.
Okay.
All the currents and proposed, I spent a long time comparing them and looking at them and I couldn't figure out what was
It's a
changed.
fair comment, just something to think about, and we're trying to improve it. It's kind of cool how we're comparing the documents, but it is a little more difficult than the red lines.
I'm totally open to either.
Could
Is
It
it
we,
easier?
opens better in Adobe. Like, I wish everybody could open it in Adobe.
could we take time in our July meeting to kind of have you walk through what we should be looking for? And that can be part of that organizational component?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's actually a good time because we'll have the new board.
Onboarding,
Yep,
yeah.
yeah, okay. Well, we left it in, so I'm going to put it to a vote. So we had 4 in favor, 0 against, and 1 abstention?
Yep.
Okay. You got that? Okay. But we can always do better. And I think that was this attempt. Let's see.
I know it was different, I just gave up because I was like, I can't see the difference.
For DEI, I did bring, so we had mentioned for DEI, and please, if anyone from the public or the board or whoever has other ideas or things for us to focus on, bring them forward, open forum or emails or whatever, but so far we have the training before and after seating, and then those were listed down. I did make a copy, this was the training that we had by Miss Kristen Nierengarten back in March. I thought was quite insightful, where she went through open meeting laws, a whole bunch of stuff on data privacy, data practices, personal data, all of that. Thought she did a nice job in about an hour. So one thing is to have the new board members watch that March workshop. One idea was maybe just have, how sometimes you can start a YouTube video at a certain spot. So I'm hoping that maybe we can just kind of capture that 1 hour and send that link out to board members until we get some updated training. But for now, it's just a few months old. So I think it's pretty timely. And then I did scan this in, and I will share with the new board members as well. Just because it's a lot of words here, but it's good reading, I think. And this is the stuff that you will get in the training that you will need to have per the Minnesota law. Those 3 separate sessions, but those are kind of spread out over a couple hours, if I remember. Is that about right? Maybe 2 hours each one, something like that. Whereas this is kind of condensed into 1 hour, a lot of it. Any questions on DEI other than, I like keeping the category there, but we need to kind of put a little more meat to that one as we go forward. So maybe the new board can help us with that. We have a break scheduled, so if you guys are okay, we'll follow the agenda. I'm going to call for a break at 6:51. Can we just meet back at 7 o'clock? You guys all right with that? So a 9-minute break? Okay. And we'll be right back. Yep. I got about 7 o'clock on my, go ahead. So, welcome back, everyone, 7 o'clock. We are on to the item 17, which is discussion and decision section. First one up is finalizing executive director employment agreement. So we actually just had a few highlighted sections that needed to be confirmed. And for everyone's recollection, this one is just moving the contract over to an employment agreement similar to what we have for the rest of the staff. So highlighted is employee name, address, but this one we can put in afterwards. So I think tonight, July 1st, 2023, so your current contract, Randy, I think expires June 30th. So, yeah, so this would be effective July 1, and then you would be moved over to the employment agreement. Starting salary is the next one, and this needs to be a public discussion, which seems awkward for a lot of folks, but as a public employee, it is a public discussion, can't be closed. So I guess, just look, Wendell, any reason from the finance, any suggestion? I know we had the one follow-up, which is the PTO, the paid time off. Do you have any comments on that one? Do you want to take PTO first?
The 30-day PTO payout is a practice amongst all administration. So Kate's, Randy's, Lee Two's, they all have that item in their contract.
Okay.
So if we change his, then we do have to go back and change theirs.
Okay, so let's take the PTO one first then. So right now, the way it's written, the following are at the approval of the board, unused PTO not to exceed 30 days? Okay. I should probably do that in pen. Yeah. And maybe cashed out in the executive director's daily rate of pay. The executive director is expected to work for 218 duty days, remote versus in-person, i.e. non-student contact days. So that's how it's currently written, I guess. Anybody concerned with that? And this should be back to the original link. I didn't put the link in the agenda, but the one that Maggie created, or I can send it out again if you want it. So 30, which put, the only changes under the underscore, I just put 30. The salary, annual rate, anything from the finance?
I mean, we are a little top heavy, but that's something we need to discuss later.
One of the things I guess I would start with, is there any reason why we would do it different than the rest, where we put everyone at, was it 3.7%? Is that what we approved for everybody?
That was teachers.
Teachers. Administration, did they stay the same?
Do you remember? 3%? Yeah, because the 0.7 was for the
More
additional
duty
days.
days.
So it was a
Okay.
3% increase with the 0.7 being the additional 3 days.
So your administrative staff was 3%?
Yes. Because their contract didn't change the number of days.
So I guess I would just throw out the idea that we would stick with the same as the other administration at 3% raise.
Mhm.
Would there be any concern with that approach? So the current, I'm not hiding the number, I don't remember what the number is, but the current number plus 3%. It's a public number.
It's 121. I could be wrong.
I don't remember.
Right.
Okay, but 121 times 1.03 is the proposal right now. Okay, July 1, 1.03. And I have this employment must be signed and returned by the date. So let's, if you guys are okay, I'll just say by June 30th. And the employment agreement must be signed and returned by June 30th. Okay.
Is that a business day?
Oh, I don't know.
Probably the last
Oh, I
business
can
day of the month.
June
Um,
30th is a Friday.
Is it Friday? Okay.
But if it's an employment agreement, shouldn't it be the last business day of June?
Is that the 30th?
But
is.
it could change year to year.
Oh, in the
Policy.
policy. Mm.
Because if we're doing an employment agreement, it's continuous, so it should read the last business day of June.
Mhm.
Or
Is that-
I
two.
think that's just this document won't change, will it, anymore after this?
with Wendell's comment, though, it shouldn't say June 30th, because it might be a Saturday next year, so it should be the 11th.
I don't know why, but it must have said the same for the teachers, because it was copied for the teachers when we asked the teachers to have it returned by.
Theirs
That's
was a
not-
recommended date, it wasn't in the contract.
Oh, okay.
Teacher.
I don't need to have it on here, I mean. it'd
Because
be
this,
in your
this
best
isn't,
interest.
it's not a
It's not a
a
contract.
wage notification, it's an agreement.
Mhm.
Kind of like a term sheet.
Mm.
You would just say 1 year, starting July 1st.
But I think that's the change, right, is
times.
we're not doing the time anymore,
So
right?
he's not re-signing that next
Yes.
year, it would just be the
I think
wage.
it's just when does this document need to come back?
Okay, yep, June 30th.
June, if you guys are okay with that. Okay.
Yeah, just go by calendar year then.
And then it says your acceptance of this offer means that you will report for the position July 1st, 2023. That was highlighted. You okay with that?
July 1st is the
That's a
Saturday.
Saturday. I was gonna say, that's a Saturday.
And then the 3rd is
And
the
then the
Monday, with the 4th being
So should we,
holiday.
yes, should we change it?
So it should be, because if we say July 3rd,
July
then is
5th?
he having to take PTO right away if he wants? I mean, that's something to consider.
That's fine. Last year was July, I want to say it was like the 1st or 2nd.
So then we should put July 3rd.
Yeah.
Because then it's up to
I think that's
you.
fair, because if, that's how it is for,
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm changing July 1 to July 3, okay? And then it's just your name. Okay, so I have now changed, the salary will be 1.03 times, the 38 PTO days, and this document should be signed and returned to me by June 30th. And we changed July 1st to July 3rd. Does that sound good to everyone? Okay, then I'm gonna consider this one done. So Randy, I can change the document and pass it to you for signature, okay? I guess I'll make a motion that we make those changes. Can I get a second?
So we're approving the changes for the
The employment agreement.
employment agreement.
And I guess also that I will, as current chair, I will finish this and send it to Randy for signature.
Yep.
I can see that.
Okay. Ms. Ward seconded. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, yep. This one passed 5-0. Community session planning. So we talked a good bit about this one on the workshop, so thanks, and thanks, Wendell, for those inspiring ideas from your training. I did have one public comment when we were talking during the break, and just the idea that, you know, it may be difficult for all parents, depending on if you're helping with the PTO or whatever, to contribute at that open house time. So not saying no, but maybe let's just think about how do we get those parents involved too, if it's like another session, a backup session, or we just got to think about, because I think the idea was how do we get as much participation as possible, and if those folks are helping, you know, with our, just like the teachers, right? If you have other things that you're working on, how do we get everyone? So it's just a comment of, think about that day maybe and a backup day, or, you know, like,
Could we?
Go ahead.
I was thinking, or else do, like, because since open house is from 3 to 7, if the meeting's after, for those families that come right away at the beginning, does that mean, maybe we do one session at, you know, before and one right after? Just a thought, you know? It might be easier for teachers, you know, one or the other, so I don't know, just.
Teresa, what's your thought?
Oh, I was just going to say, could we solicit interest that night? If we can't make it happen that night, could we have some kind of sign up? You know, yes, I am interested, and almost like some kind of doodle,
Kind of like a
like have
doodle,
it set
yeah.
up. You know, and then we would hopefully get a commitment from the people who said they were interested. And then we could set a, well, yeah, a date could be set from there.
right,
I don't know, it just seems like there are obstacles to having it on the same night as the open house, and so would we get more interest if we, I
To Dan's point, with teachers having to find flex time in there, I would encourage parents to do the same, to flex their time as much as they can. We also encourage parents and stakeholders to use open forum as well as email, write letters to, I'm not discrediting their time, I'm just encouraging other forms of communication.
What were the top two? One of them was communication or feedback you had?
And safety.
And safety was the second one?
Mhm.
So we talked about maybe kind of trying to focus the conversation a little bit, just so it's not just.
A free-for-all, yeah.
Yeah, free-for-all, but at the same time, I think people can still come with the comments they want. And then the idea, if you didn't catch our workshop, was that you'd have a chance to share feedback. The board would basically be listening and taking down notes and assigning numbers. This is item 12, this is item 13. And then we would take that as a board and we would look at what makes sense. Maybe not all of it would be possible to answer, but whatever we can. So, because I think that final bit, that follow-up bit is what we want to make sure that we're very transparent about. Otherwise, it just sounds like, or seems like, community's talking, nobody's listening, right? So how do we fix that bit?
I think also maybe at the end of the meeting, whenever we meet, some kind of like, I don't know, like in class, we call it an exit ticket, but like, you know, some sort of like, almost like a review of what they felt the meeting was like, comments of how, what we did well, what could we do better, you know, that kind of thing. What topics would you like to see addressed? Maybe just a quick little form that they could write something in, or put it online or whatever, but just some way for us to get some immediate feedback from how they felt the first meeting went, since
Yeah.
we're trying to do this.
Yep. So I think we generally agreed, we'll find no perfect night, but that open house, we can, anyways, we have a captive audience, if you will, people will be here, so maybe we take advantage of that. 2 topics, but we're open to others, and then somehow capturing feedback, either if they're unable to make it, or unable to listen and respond at that time. So there's a latter bit of which you're talking about. So I think, but we're generally agreed that sounds about right. Is that right? So Randy, we need to work together to get some, because at least a month or so in advance, we should say that the board is going to be doing something. Yeah. Okay. Anything else on that one? Okay. Now, I have the 419 and 421. We left those, right? So 419, I didn't have any question. I just wanted to make sure we had a chance to talk about it. Does anybody have any questions?
You mean for 421?
Oh, can we start with 419? Oh, sorry. Yeah, 421. And you had, why am I getting these confused? You had pulled one, too.
Yeah, 419, just to, there was a
Please start
spot
that.
where we decided, and an admin said that they would help us through Emma get more consistent wording. So, for example, consistently say Math and Science Academy, or whatever the needed phrase, the repetitive phrase might be. So there was one that was missed in 419. So that'll be changed.
Section 5.
Yeah. Section 5B
The charter school.
and
Yeah.
A, yeah. Just 2 small changes.
There-
So then the second read will have those changes then.
Is that the only changes, is the language of
Yeah, any questions?
I also see 2D, it says the charter school.
So anywhere it says charter school
Yeah.
becomes math and science academy.
Yeah.
Probably best to, you just need to run it through a alt find.
Yeah.
We talked about, like, if the charter school is what's coming from the practice, then otherwise we're gonna always be changing.
We're gonna always be changing them.
Yeah.
And that's why we agreed to put it in the consent agenda, because we're not changing the integrity of the policy, we're changing minor wording.
I guess I was just going back to where we started this
I know,
last
it
summer.
was a time thing, I know, and whatever,
No,
yeah.
whatever's, because your time is precious too, and changing one word to three or.
Oh, well, I'm not doing it. It's gonna fall on Emma and admin to do it, so. I think literally that's,
Yeah, okay.
because we also don't want too many people changing
No.
and editing and,
Other comments for 49? This is 419? Yeah, 419.
yeah. And when Emma does the initial setup of the policy, I'm always wary because I don't want to offset her margins. And, like create an orphan on the next page and then so I have a big hesitation with that too, so. Because that just creates more, minuscule work.
So do we want to approve the first read with the changes to the charter school, or MSA? Is that-
Yeah, with the
Okay.
understanding that will be changed.
Do you want a motion then?
Sure. Motion to approve first read of 419, noting the phrase charter school or charter schools will be changed to Math and Science Academy.
Quick and second? And Ben seconds. Further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, abstained, so it passes 5-0. 421, I didn't have anything in particular, just wanted to make sure we had a chance to discuss it, so. If there are no questions, this one is about gifts to employees and charter school board members. We're not doing any funny business here, I think it's nice. This is a brand new one, right? I don't know why we didn't have this before, but it must have come out and now we're catching up. so.
Yeah, prohibition of gifts statute.
Yep.
10A.
What, does it have a date? It's okay, that's okay, but I'm assuming we would have had it before it was around. So I'll make a motion to approve the first read of 421.
I'll second it. Oh, sorry.
Got
No,
a
it's
second?
fine.
Is it okay? Drew?
Yes.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, 421 first read passes. Now we are up to the 23-24 school budget. Are you ready? I didn't get a name on there.
Yep, so this is the budget. The only one that needs to be approved is DI. D2 is just the
Projections.
long-term, yeah, so that one's just a long-term. D1 and DI needs to be approved by the board by June 30th, before they start the next fiscal year. This is our budget for 23-24, given the additions to extra classrooms. It includes any needed furniture, additional curriculum for new classes and electives, and the raises for the new salary scale. So all that's included in this budget projection. And I think there's about a $50,000
Surplus.
surplus. Not to mention any money we could get from, the credit, the employee retention credit, which we'll let you know when that comes. That's been filed with the IRS. Any questions or comments on the budget? This did go through the finance committee, so we did go through this, so it includes all those additions.
The numbers work out, but it's because we continue to cram in more and more
I know.
students. And that's the only problem, right, is
Yeah.
we all know it, but we need to figure something out. So we're making it happen by squeezing the kids, right? And
I'll I'll point out too that the enrollment will be 648, but the ADM equates to about 598 with PSEO. So that's what we're looking at for ADM.
And last year's was 543, it looks like, right? So it's 50 kids, about 50 some. And does it come from-
Salaries and extracurricular pay update was based on information provided by Shawnee Holt in the pay scales. It's about 2.3 million for licensed staff. And that includes the extracurricular components.
So the 648, what if any changes have we done to accommodate the extra 50-ish kids?
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Well, that was from the ABC. We've added a couple classrooms. We've taken W7, which was not used as a classroom, which is a lower level of B. So, and then the health room is now a classroom, which wasn't used all the time, so that's a classroom. So we were just to utilize some space and have a little bit more shared. So, and then DJ's office is actually a classroom, and he's going to have more of an office space for that. And that's being extended in the space, his office space, to accommodate, to meet with students. So kind of taking every space we have available in existence
any
of
further
our
after this
4
year.
buildings and using, so we're capped as much as we can, so.
And
That's
knowing you
gonna
may
be
have seen in the
great.
facilities too, just for the public, I mean, we're looking at temporary space, right? And I don't know if
For
we
the
need it,
possibility, if we need to for
if
next
we
year.
need to get some
Yeah.
containers or some sort of.
And then we moved a lot of teachers this summer for next year to try to accommodate for, like, for instance, A will be just high school students, middle school students will be predominantly just in B, and then Spanish will be in C, and then 6th grade will just be in D, to limit the amount of students walking through hallways for that congestion. So that should really help out in that aspect with the extra bodies in there. So thank you for all the teachers that moved and boxed and we've had students moving but things around, so
So we
we've
need-
had to be really scheduled very effectively and efficiently for this.
We need to approve I, right? Wait.
Correct. Yes, please.
DI.
DI, which is the one for next year, right? The long-term one is more informational for us.
Right, that's more of a 5-year budget.
I can make the motion to approve the fiscal year 23-24 short-term budget DI.
I can second. Further discussion, questions? Then all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so passes 5-0 to 0. We moved item E down, so our next up is community board member appointment. And I did ask, and I think it's a fair critique, I copied the email directly and included it in here, and I included the individual's personal email address, so we'll strike that from future records, and that's my mistake. But before we do, there are some questions?
Yeah, with the discussion on eligibility as parent moving to community
Okay.
and the timing.
And timing, okay. So when, I guess, yeah, so in my mind, we can have a discussion or vote tonight on the community member to start in July, but maybe I'm missing something. Because I think June 30th, they would no longer have a student enrolled, so July 1st, they would be a community member.
Yes.
We could do a special meeting too, after July 1st, or on July.
I'm just asking, what would be the benefit of doing a special meeting versus sorting it out tonight?
I'm a little concerned how we sort it out tonight. I guess I'm leaning now, and I know, well, I'm going to go off topic though, but if we always envisioned doing the annual meeting the annual organizational meeting in July and seating new members in July and running 36 months.
This one's an appointment though, right? Not a,
Yes, you're right. It is.
so
an
this one
appointment.
should have been appointed 6 months ago or whenever we lost, January or February, correct? When we
They're
lost
still
our.
parent.
But they're
they
still a
could-
parent.
But they didn't
So the
No, no,
qualify.
I'm
issue
saying
is
the
that they
position
Right.
should have been seated then. And so we've been asking every month if anyone knows, and we finally had somebody raise their hand. So it's not a, it's not,
It's not, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was not, this parent wasn't elected. It's an appointment.
but if there's any other concerns, because I agree, I think I'm
It's
totally
just
fine with
eligibility, yeah.
having them, only when they're eligible. Yeah. Other concerns? Otherwise, then I would like, maybe Kim, could you just come up and introduce yourself and read your letter, and then we can.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kim Jensen. I'm interested in the MSA Board of Director Community Member position. I've been a parent at MSA for the last 13 years. My youngest child just graduated a few weeks ago. The last 3 years, I've been on the PTO. I was treasurer for the first year and then president for the last 2 years. During my time on the PTO, I've invested hundreds of hours in the school and helped to coordinate events such as sixth grade picnic, back to school night, Roll Day, Pie Day, open house, monthly teacher appreciation events, and a favorite pizza day. As a result of my experience on the PTO, I have come to know many students, parents, and staff. I can recognize most kids who get pizza in building A and can tell you whether they prefer cheese or pepperoni. I have poured my heart and soul into this school for many years, and I want to continue to do that as a Board of Director community member. MSA has been a great school for all 3 of my kids, and I want to help continue its reputation of excellence in the Woodbury community, the Twin Cities, and beyond. Thank you.
Point of clarification, Stephanie, do you remember how many more years you had on yours?
Mine is a 1 year.
Yours is
This
the 1 year?
the 2 year.
So this would be for the 2-year one? Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to approve Ms. Jensen to start effective July 1 as our community board member. Can I get a second?
I won't be here, so do I?
But you
get
are
to
still
vote
on the
this?
board now, yes.
Okay.
All right, Teresa, second. Further discussion? Is there any reason anyone would like to share why they wouldn't support it? Then,
Eligibility, but we've discussed it, so.
the eligibility question, I think, is sorted if we start July 1, right? Okay. Anything else? Then all those in favor, seating, Ms. Jensen, say aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right, so motion passes 3-2.
No, you asked a specific question, you didn't ask for discussion.
Sorry.
You asked a specific question, you didn't ask for discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was my attempt at discussion. A further discussion?
I have to oppose this appointment.
Okay.
Primarily because of, and I'm not going to discredit her actions as PTO, as an active parent, but the concern that I have is the vocalization that she's taken during open forum when it comes to our LGBTIA students. She was in direct violation of policy 102.2 when she came in and said that a number of our LGBT students were essentially sex offenders. She
Just quick.
openly,
So Wendell, just one thing. So one thing that's difficult in this, so you have to and should share your concerns, but we're not giving Ms. Jensen a chance for rebuttal too, so we have to be careful we don't go too specific. So however we balance that, because you need to be able to share your concerns, but we don't have a forum right now for her to provide feedback. Does that make sense? So just with that in mind.
Can I ask for the motion again? What
I
did
made a
we just
motion
vote
to
on?
approve and I thought we voted on it,
What was the motion we voted on?
to approve Ms. Jensen
For
as
the 2-year completion of the community board member term to
Starting
begin on July 1st.
July 1.
Oh, okay. And the vote came out
It was 3-2, but Wendell said I went too fast and missed some discussion.
Let me reword it. I am opposing this motion because of comments made in open forum that actively discriminate against students when it comes to policy 102.1 as well as 102.2. That was vocally said during open forum. And moving forward with the 102.1, 102.2, 102.3, if this is what the board wants to do, I cannot justify appointing somebody who is actively in violation of those policies.
I think there was an admin letter. Are we in discussion?
So we made a vote and was done, but I guess I'm okay with some discussion as long as we don't get into like a kind of a witch hunt, I don't know a better word for that, because we, like I said, we don't have a way right now for the other person for due process, right? Where right now we have a volunteer who said they'd be willing to serve, we voted them in. So I get it that there's some concerns, but I think we can take that as a board.
You didn't call for discussion, though. You asked a very specific question.
Sorry, I don't remember what I asked, but I meant to have discussion.
And I'm vocalizing my opposition to this appointment, and I think that everybody should be taking that into consideration. We were asked by Paula Forbes, why did we pass these policies? And how are we going to use them? And I specifically said in that workshop, it is a guideline in how we move forward. And when we have somebody, a community member, who is actively discriminating against students, I have to oppose this appointment.
So that's noted. I would just say we also have to be careful that we don't hold, let's say, a parent at the time, responsible for policies that we're enacting at that time, right? So, I mean, if they're coming, and I can't defend individuals, that's for them to do, that's not my role, but if they have concerns, that's the open forum is where they come to voice those concerns. And I think we should allow that. I'm totally comfortable if they differ in my opinion, and I think we all, as a board member, need to be comfortable with different opinions, but we need to, as a board, move forward, and we've said as a board, we want to enact 102.1, 2.2, 2.3, and we have. So any board member that sits on the board would then need to help us make sure that that policy is enacted, right? That's how that works.
Is it fair to say that that call to vote was out of order then, since there was no discussion?
We'd have to go back to YouTube, sorry, but I asked some questions and it sounds like it wasn't clear enough.
It was a specific question. There wasn't
Okay.
any discussion.
Okay.
I don't believe.
So does somebody want to unmotion the motion? Because we all voted on the motion.
Do you need to if it was out of order?
I don't know that it would change.
Is it clear? I don't know. I wish we could play it back. I don't know.
You read it back, I guess?
Well, I read them.
Any further discussion? Did you have something that would be not specific?
No, I
not
just
able
want to make
share?
sure we don't violate policy. If the motion was called and we voted and discussion was closed. I can't remember. I just can't remember.
Discussion was not given. A specific question was asked, but discussion was not called for.
But now we've had discussion, so would it have changed anyone's vote, I guess?
Yes.
So how do we undo a motion?
We recall it.
You made the motion, so now you need to recall for the vote on the motion.
maybe then I would ask, what would change your mind? Or
What the
The point-
conversation about the
Discussion.
conversation did change my mind. I mean, that's the point of the discussion, right? Is to help us make our minds up. But we didn't have one. And I would have voted differently based on further information and conversation.
So just for clarification, because we are intentionally not trying to find like-minded individuals. Can we all agree? We do not want to have 9 of the same thinking on the board. So I would be reaching out to individuals that have exactly the opposite opinion of me, so that we can have a discussion that represents all the different viewpoints. So if we are now saying we have somebody who disagrees with us, and therefore we're voting them to not be able to volunteer, I just
I
want to
don't
make
find
No,
that
I
as a
think Stephanie's
disagreement.
point
I'm
might
finding
be-
it as.
It's a
Sorry.
violation of the policy.
I think Stephanie's point might be valid because she wasn't a member back in January, in February, when these policies came forth. So without discussion, how would she know? Like her recollection, right? She would have to. If we didn't discuss it, if the motion was called and we didn't discuss it, then that's wrong. I can't remember. Do you see my point?
We should follow the order. We can all watch YouTube later when we're free. I just want to make sure that we do the right thing, right? We have a board.
I think that is your opinion, and that is why you voted the way you did. I don't see it as a matter of a difference of opinion. And that's my opinion. That's how I see it.
And I'm not picking you, I'm okay if we don't have the same agreement, but I would like to understand how a discussion changed.
Because I see a difference when the particular difference of opinion is a matter of policy and a matter of harm to students. I don't think that we should approve differences of opinion that are harmful to our students, because that's not in the best interest of our students, which is the purpose of the school.
Maybe because it's really hard for us to judge intent. Kim, would you at all feel comfortable to come up and answer any questions?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Then that way we don't all have to sit here and throw out one side and make a judgment based on that. So maybe, can you help clarify? Because apparently there's some concern about some comments that were made.
Yeah, I'm just really confused as to how, I mean, I stand by my statements from the meeting, but I've had several people say that in my comments, that I was accusing transgender students of sexually predatory behavior, and I never said anything of as such. So I'm really confused as to how you came to that conclusion.
So I was actually pulling up emails. You received an email from administration. Gosh. And you said that it was fiction, that the 2 scenarios, the 2 stories you told, the 2 scenarios you talked about were fiction. Fiction is made up. Fiction is not true. And it was in reference to the Eagle Bluff.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, this is so hard.
So the scenarios that I
So it
provided,
was 7th graders, I'm sorry, I
Yep.
don't mean to cut you off. It would have been 7th graders. It was markedly directed towards transgender sexual assault. So
Oh,
just
okay,
by,
so-
just by saying that, you're already narrowing down to a
Okay.
couple specific kids.
okay, but I never used the word sexual assault. So where did that come from?
You said the story, you said that
If a cisgender student was using the bathroom, what gives them the right to share that bathroom with a trans student?
What I said, and I remember what I said, is the concerns that I have with that specific policy, the gender equity policy, is that we've got biological girls and biological boys sharing a bathroom. And I use the example of the boys' bathroom, because if there is a biological boy using a urinal, and you've got a biological girl that walks in, that's putting that biological boy in an uncomfortable position. I never implied that the transgender student was gonna do anything or would act inappropriately to another student. I never said anything like that.
Actually, that scenario is a microaggression, and it is.
But it's a scenario that happens at MSA. And it's a concern that I have for the biological male. So let's say, for example, tomorrow I'm gonna identify as a male. Okay? I'm gonna come here, it's policy that I can use the male restroom then. So if I walk into the male restroom and Dan or somebody is using a urinal, my guess is he's gonna be uncomfortable.
But it's the law, so if you were to serve on this
Right,
board,
but I can still
how would you
just-
advance?
Right, I can still disagree with the policy, I'm one vote.
But you can't
That's why we
disagree
have
with a
nine-
policy that is legally enforceable. So how would you reconcile that with your personal beliefs? If children are allowed to use the bathroom that they identify with, that is the law. Mr. Vetch does not have a choice. He has to allow that. We have to enforce that.
Right, I don't have to agree with the law, I don't even have to agree with the
You
law.
have to enforce, you have to come help us enforce equity. You have to come to this table and support that seventh grade trans child's right to use the bathroom that they identify with.
Okay, and part of
How
also.
would you do that?
Part of also my concern in giving the Eagle Bluff field trip example was, if you're gonna allow that to happen, we as a school, I think it's important to let parents know that that's the policy of MSA. So if I'm sending off my seventh grade girl to Eagle Bluff and I'm not able to go and chaperone, I wanna know that she's only sleeping sharing a room and showers with other biological girls. If it's the policy of MSA to say that a transgender student can sleep in the quarters that they identify with, parents need to be aware of that policy.
It's the law. Our
Right, but
policy is the
not all the
law.
parents, not all
When
parents
you
are
send
aware
your
that it's a
child-
policy.
So what
When
I'm
you
hearing
send
is
your
there's
child to a
a
public
communication issue that needs to be addressed with that.
It could be, and when the kids went off to environmental camp, they weren't told who their roommates would be ahead of time. So if there was a transgender student who was going, me as a parent, I wouldn't know that. And I just assume, a parent shouldn't make that assumption. And that was a lesson for me as a parent, that I can no longer make that assumption.
But you're also breaching data privacy.
When you.
Right, but
Right, you just agreed that you're breaching data privacy.
as a parent, it's important for me to know, especially if I'm not able to be there. I had the blessing to be able to chaperone my kids when they went to Eagle Bluff. And so I could be there. Not every parent has that option to go do that. And kids were also told you can't bring your cell phone with. That was right on the list of what to do. So you could have a seventh grade girl show up at environmental camp and she finds out when she gets there,
No, please, no untrue stories.
but it's
Because
perfectly
those
acceptable in the
kids-
policy.
The policy is law. You can't tell fiction or untrue. We have a very small community. So when you mention Eagle Bluff and you mention a girl or a boy, it's very easy for the world on YouTube to be able to associate that to a child who has probably taken a lot of courage, if at seventh grade, to live openly in their skin. Do you see the detrimental harm? So again, my question is, how would you come to this table and put equal educational opportunity at the forefront of your service as a community member to those most tender stakeholders.
I think
They're
all of our
members
students are valuable. Every single one of our, all 605 students are valuable.
Yes,
I
but we
don't care
have
what your
certain.
skin color is, I don't care what your sexual orientation
Yes, you
is.
do care.
No, I don't.
How would you elevate and protect and advance those of protected classes? How would you ensure that their civil rights are not violated? They're members of protected classes.
Right, if it's
They get-
if it's a policy of the school, I have to go along with it. I don't have to agree with it. And there's no way one person can agree with every policy. That's part of why we're different.
So with 102.1, you sent some emails indicating your struggle with Black Lives, the phrase Black Lives Matter. So my question would be the same.
I don't remember any emails about it. I don't remember that. So I can't comment on it.
Can, for me, I'm curious, I don't personally feel it's fair to hold you to board training that you haven't taken, policies that you maybe just have on a website, but, you know what I mean? But I am interested in just knowing, what would you like to do with the board here? Because clearly you've done years and years of work for the school.
Yeah.
So what is it that you'd like to help the board with?
I think it's important to have different viewpoints. I think one of my big frustrations over the last several months with the board of directors is just there hasn't been a lot of discussion on things. There's not been a lot of interaction and talking about and different viewpoints. And I'm one vote out of what would be 9 people. So can I, myself personally, change the direction of the school? No. But hopefully I can provide some discussion. I've got a lot of background at the school. I know the community, I live in Woodbury. I know a lot of parents and a lot of students just from my roles on the PTO over the last 3 years. And I have a lot of friends that still have kids here. And I want this school to survive. I want it to do really well. I want it to thrive. It's been a great school for my kids.
I don't want it to sound leading, but if you had a better understanding of either the law or the policies, would you be able to help support where the school is going? It's a leading question, I understand, but I think what folks are trying to get at is, there seems like there's a disconnect between where the board is trying to take the school and maybe where your stance is. And how would you reconcile that?
I mean, obviously, I guess I don't know how to say it any differently, but I'm not going to agree with everything, and that's okay. It's okay to disagree. And I have a lot of friends I disagree with, but I think that we can still have mutual discussions and respectful discussions about difficult topics. And I think that I could help bring that to the board, just to provide another viewpoint.
We have a student body that needs to hear 40% African American, that feel that they have been discriminated against. How would you help elevate their voice when you're not able to accept that Black lives matter?
Now you're putting words in my mouth, because I never once said Black Lives Matter.
No,
So
but you did say a
instead
certain
of Black
population of
Lives Matter,
WLA would dilute ours.
and that all lives matter.
I agree, all lives matter. I totally agree with that. And I think it's important for every student. And I don't want to look at somebody's skin color. I want to look at who they are as a student. How can we help them succeed in this environment?
But
And
we
I don't
have
want
to
to
look
put
at
people
their
in
skin
labels. Why do we have to put people, why do we have to
Because
look
it's
at their
the law.
skin
They are
color?
a member of a protected class. And so they have been disparately impacted just because of the color of their skin. So now we are mandated as a public education institution to elevate them, to give them priority, to close their learning gaps that were created by virtue of their skin color. So how would you come to the table with that equity mindset and serve as their fiduciary.
I think I would look at every student as a specific individual, and I don't know that I can give a general answer for 600 students.
And I'd like to go back to your questioning of Stephanie changing her mind. And I would like to remind you that when we voted on 102.2, you did change your mind in the discussion. You vocally said that DJ confessing that he has a trans child changed your mind.
I didn't mean to pick, I was curious because we were talking about undoing a motion. The only reason we would undo that is if the result would change.
And
So-
she said it did.
So, yeah, and that's why I was curious.
Mhm.
Was it?
So I'm going to ask you to recall the vote.
So sorry, Wendell, but any other further questions for Kim? Apologies for putting you on the hot
That's
seat.
okay, I don't mind.
I was, yeah. I won't-
I'm willing to have a discussion. I appreciate the discussion. Thank you for letting me
Thanks for
have a
standing
chance to
up.
voice how I felt.
Stephanie, any questions? Teresa? Wendell? Hello?
Mm.
Okay, thank you. Sit down. So I'm happy to undo, not happy, but I will follow our procedures. I will remove my motion because there was concern, not enough discussion, and we just spent a lot more time on discussion. So I think, does it need, who was seconded it? Teresa, I think, are you okay to remove the motion?
Yes.
Okay. So, new motion time. Or I can make the same motion again. So, I'll make the motion again, which is I would like to accept the offer to seat Ms. Jensen effective July 1 for the 2-year remainder of our community board member. Any seconds? Okay. Then we will move on and we will continue to look for, hopefully, a community member that can help support the board and move this school forward. Again, I'll put out a plea. Please, any and all who are interested in helping and also can make it through this difficult crowd, please put your name in and we will hopefully appoint someone because we are in dire need of more thoughts and different thoughts. So then we move on to G, which is the board to agree on organizational meeting. So this has two options. One is we can take it tonight. The board needs to approve on when that date is. In the past, we have done it around the June time and set the board to be effective July, but it doesn't mean we have to do it that way. We can also, there's G small 2 I's, as we can do a special meeting date, or we could come up with a date in July that will be our board meeting. So, thoughts, concerns, comments?
I think according to our bylaws, we need to host a meeting in July. That's my thought.
Can you share that with me so I can quick look at it?
According to our bylaws, we need to plan an organizational meeting and it needs to happen in July.
That's what I'm asking. Let me pull it up quick because I don't remember that part, but
Because it goes through the breakdown of the different types of meeting. Organizational meeting, regular meeting, which this is. And it would help keep the flow of seats consecutive, what's the word I'm looking for?
Seamless
Seamless,
turnover
yes.
with the 36
Thank you.
months.
if we do it that way, who sets up the next meeting?
It states in the bylaws that the board will determine the organizational meeting. Is that what I'm going to have to pull it out, something like that. It's an annual meeting determined by the board.
So I think what we've learned here with this, and we kind of knew this was going to happen as we start working the bylaws, right? We have this old tradition of seating newly elected members in July. when we were looking at the clause for establishing a formal organizational meeting, we had July in there in one of the drafts. And we took it out because we said, well, let's allow flexibility because a future board, July is a heavy vacation month. It's harder to get people at the table for official board meetings, or the community's out, I think was the discussion. Stakeholders are out. So maybe it's a good time to do training, organizational meetings. So we just wanted to leave it flex. So we took July out. And I think probably what we should have left in was that little phrase that says, the current member will keep their seat, 3-year term, 36 months, or until the newly elected member is seated. So that would cover like a 1-month gap if the organizational meeting was in August. Schools that have a January organizational meeting, sometimes they have to cancel because of snowstorms. So it gives them that cushion. Or the second option is to just put July back in as a firm and fast. That's when new members are seated. That's when term starts. If you think that will be our perpetual habit. So.
Can I go back to Wendell's, just because I'm reading the organizational meeting shall be held annually at such time as determined by the board for the purpose of installing newly elected board directors. I don't see the July bit, but I may be missing it.
To Heddle's point, if you think of how a traditional board works, they have that dead time of January of the onboarding. And I think we need to follow in suit in that sense to keep things simplified.
We talked about if maybe a future board would want to do, like Mr. Vetch said he was at a school that had like a January, and they would just do it at the organizational meeting. So I think that's how we took out July and said, well, if the future board wants to, under their leadership, like move to a January 1 organizational meeting, but allow flex for bad weather. I don't know. We took it out, and now we have to decide how we're gonna.
Yeah, so that, I agreed to add it on to the agenda, right? So we can do it tonight, or we can call a special meeting, or we can make a meeting, but we did an election, we elected folks to start in July. Those folks are here tonight, doesn't mean that we have to do it tonight, but that's certainly an option for us as a board. I'd be interested to hear, what is the rationale for not having an organizational meeting tonight? I'm just curious.
Well, we haven't finished our old business yet. That's a big topic.
So the old business would be G3, we called it, right? The continuation clause, so
Mhm.
that's next after we decide.
And my understanding of an organizational meeting, there is no, outside of appointing officers, there is no business. It's training, it's specific to their role. There's no business put on an agenda.
Okay, I don't see those as conflicting. I see July, we've talked about having a training session. I don't see why we couldn't have July be a new board training once the new board comes and is in effect. I may not be chair, but that was the initial thought that we've talked about for many months, which is the July, it was an idea, never confirmed, but that July would be training, going through packets, maybe bringing in a speaker. So I'm not sure why they would not be able to coexist.
I don't know, I'm inclined to say maybe we just do it today.
Sorry?
and-
Okay. Okay, yeah. So we're at 7:58, Ms. Ward has left. We have 4. We're still good?
7 members. 4 is okay.
She's
currently have 7?
stepping out for a second.
Yeah, but I don't know if we need to take a break.
Should we call for a break?
I mean, we certainly can. the question, right? I'd like, where are you guys at? Do you need a break? No? Okay, then let's continue with 4.
We also have our new members here, so, right, we have all 3
Yeah,
here.
yeah, because if we had this agreed to for, I mean, it's just making official the elections, right? I'd be interested to know why tonight wouldn't work to have at least some of these new board members seated. Then I guess, I don't know, ready to get Teresa back? Because I can make a motion for June 20th to carry on, and then Wendell, to your point, I'm hoping we do the training in July, the in the board training versus the difference, which is the external training, which will be done on their own, as their schedule allows. I guess, is there anyone interested in having a special meeting date, another meeting in the summer sometime?
I wouldn't call it a special meeting, that would be an organizational meeting.
I'm concerned about finding a better date for everybody to attend.
A lot of schools, most schools don't have board meetings in July just because there's not a lot of new news. So instead of the regular meeting, that becomes your organizational meeting. So you're not adding an additional meeting, because sometimes people's schedules and Julys get to be quite busy for, people. So it'd be that meeting, instead of it being a regular meeting, becomes the organizational meeting where you do, officer elections, all these other pieces that could occur. And you could add training to that since the new members are there, Just a thought. What my proposal was when I was sending emails.
I would do it either tonight or on the regular, the date that is, the 3rd Monday of July.
What about, just an idea, if we did the seating and then we took some of the officer elections, the training and whatnot, then I would just say we would need to have with the new board, it would be nice to agree on what date in July, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at least that first date would be agreed to. What do you think of that? It's like in the middle.
Since they're here, I feel bad,
Yeah.
All right, jeez, I kind of,
So see.
should we just do it? We're here.
So see them and then do the officer elections and all those other pieces in the July meeting.
It's an idea. I mean,
Yeah.
I have it listed out where we could do it all tonight.
I think
Well-
H4 needs to be tabled.
Which one?
H4,
Sorry, H4,
pursuant conversation,
Board
closed
committee
meeting.
Board Committee Representative Appointments.
Yeah.
That's the one you're talking about?
Mhm.
And the officers in mine as well, the week too, because that could, I don't know, could take a while. I agree, seating and calendar setting would be useful to do at this point.
I'm okay, and okay sounds like it's a pain, but I was pushing back a little bit because I didn't want to extend chair for another month, because then I feel like I'm doing the same we talked about, which is I'm grabbing a month of the next one, right? But I'm okay also, I mean, it's a simple agenda, it's copying this, we just need to agree on a date, so.
I don't want to muddy the waters, but, the bylaws can be amended with a majority approval.
So I just make a
If we
note
wanted
that
to- we wanted to make
8:04
it
is
clear.
is back. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, if we wanted to make it really clear what we want to do, we can amend our bylaws and make it really clear. Or if we want to I mean, either way, we have to make an amendment, or else this is going to happen every year. Potentially, right?
We have to go back to, for instance, the parent seat. Your kid graduates June 1st, June 2nd, you're still a parent till the end of June.
What, yeah, but then they don't become effective until July, correct? So technically, if there's an investigation, let's just say somebody put something through between now and June 30th, I think it's still, I would start with it. And then July 1, whoever the chair is, we pick that up.
Yeah, and so it's not going to hurt to put the phrase in there that says, or until the successor takes their seat. That way you have that constant coverage. You never compromise a quorum or representation for the stakeholders. You always have people that can come to the table.
We've got a lot of topics, kind of trying to boil into this G here. The new board seating that they ran elections, that we have an election policy as well, which describes the term starting in July, I'm assuming, right, and running through. So I feel like it's our job to follow that policy as well and get them seated to be in effect. So I would propose that we at least do the new board seating and pick a date in July that we can, as a new board, once we're all seated here, that we can agree on. And then I would like, maybe, if you guys are okay, we could perhaps dismiss the new board members and finish the old business with the closed session G3. What do you guys think of that? Concerns?
I don't know if I follow.
Let me try one more time. So we would first vote that we would hold at least the beginning of the organizational meeting tonight, or the seating effective July 1. That would be the first thing. And then we would have the new board members read the oath. They would be sworn in effective July 1.
Can you do that, though? With finishing old business? It doesn't seem...
I believe we would just say effective July 1. So the current board, which is still in effect until June 30th, would be able to finish old business. I think so. We're just kind of...
I'm hesitant on that. I'm very hesitant.
What would be the concern?
Yeah, or we make an amendment. We just,
But the
set it
bylaw
for...
can't, you amend the bylaws?
We could, if we don't want to say July 1st, they'll start July 1st, and I'm just trying to give solutions and
Yeah,
ideas.
but I'm just asking, wouldn't July 1 already be in our policy under the elections? I don't...
Yeah, that is the tricky part, is when people they ran under that election policy. That said July 1st is when their term starts.
And I know in the past schools I've been at, the board members were seated, but they started the following month.
I think that's what we're talking about tonight, is...
But can you do that before finishing old business?
I think that's...
Yeah, we have to finish our old business first before we can do that.
That's,
So we have to go through G3 before we can...
So should we just do that? Should we just motion to amend the agenda so we can finish all old business? And then to H? Is that the only holdup to doing H?
I would ask that H4 be tabled until July.
Okay.
And we've also added H5, which is the student representative.
And H5.
well, that could be part of the organizational meeting, because they
Yeah.
don't start till September anyway.
Yeah.
So then maybe if we're okay, then I can make a motion that on June 20th tonight, we will seat the new board members, and we will pick a date in July to have them come back. And then at that meeting, we will go over the officer duties, the nomination forms, and committee appointments, and student representatives, and training. So that'll be kind of a organizational, if you will.
Maybe the
So we'll do it-
communication,
Sorry?
the communication thing, do we want to add that?
What was that?
The listening session, right?
The listening session?
More-
Setting up,
More update on that?
Yeah, well,
or like setting it up at the organizational
Okay,
meeting?
Okay. So I would like to, that's a long motion, Stephanie, sorry about it.
Well,
But basically, it's HI and HII. Those two are the only remaining H's. The rest of it gets moved to,
I'm just trying to
TBD.
think about how to say this since we have not, right, we can't seat them yet. So you're making them up, you're,
the board needs to agree to do, because I think the way it's written right now is as such
is
time
to
as
adjust
determined by the
the
board.
agenda then, so we need
so
to.
the motion is to revise the agenda.
Yeah, okay, to revise the agenda,
To
to seat new
tab-
board, to.
To
seat-
table items H 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
To-
Yeah, that's clear.
Until July.
So can that, do you want to first that?
Sure.
Okay, and I will second that one. Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thanks.
Abstained, and that one, the agenda gets changed, thank you, good discussion. Then we have, so we don't need a special meeting date, so then we go to G3, correct, which is the closed meeting continuation. So I would just ask, can we put some time limit on it so that we can let those folks know that'll have to wait?
I wish I could. I mean, we've gone it now third time.
I know. We did.
I would, I'm say under an hour. I know that seems like a lot, but like I said, I can't.
Can we try target a half an hour and then at most an hour?
Yeah.
Would that be, so? Are you guys, apologies, procedural, are you okay to wait outside for 30 to up to 60 minutes? And then we'll bring you back, just to make sure we follow everything. So, then, well, we need to approve that, but are we okay with that? So, I'll make a motion that we go back into closed session for 30 minutes, at most 60 minutes, to finish up the earlier closed session. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
I got a couple seconds. So-
Stephanie did.
Who is this?
Stephanie.
Okay, all those in favor? Say
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, okay. Then I am going to, at 8:12, oops. I'm gonna close the meeting, because the previous session was not yet completed. So we have this meeting will be closed pursuant to Minnesota State Statute 13D.05 sub 3B. And basically evaluate the performance of an individual subject to the board's authority. So, public, I'll ask you to leave. You're welcome to come back in 30 to 60 minutes. We'll open the doors again.
Just take our numbers and text us.
Yeah, can we put some numbers on here? If you want to text, and we can do that in. Teresa's coming back.
Yeah, she went to open up the door for
Okay,
the.
perfect. welcome back. I'm going to call the meeting back to order at 9:47, so thanks for hanging in this late one. So we just came out of closed session where we reviewed the meeting was closed pursuant to Minnesota State Statute 13D-05 sub 3B, where we reviewed the results of an investigation as well as evaluated the performance of an individual subject to the board's authority. So now with the meeting back in, that one was, we called it 3G. So now we're on to the kind of the beginning of the organizational meeting, which is new board member seating. So I have H, small I, and I gotta give
We
you.
have to dismiss old members first.
Yes, we probably should have had that on there. I think we can probably do that.
Dismiss me?
Yeah,
No,
we can probably dismiss you.
Another 3 years.
Thank you for all of your help. Please.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
And thank you to Maggie, too.
Yes, I will tell her. Don't need my sunglasses anymore, I'm guessing.
There's a whole song about it. I wear my sunglasses at night. The whole
Yeah.
song.
Thank you very much. All right, can I ask for the new board members to come up here for the camera, and then I will read the first portion, and then I'll ask you to speak towards the end. I'm excited, but also tired. It's an honor, Math and Science Academy Board of Directors, member oath of office. It's an honor that you are elected to guide the education of our community's children. As you recite the oath of office, you assume a tremendous responsibility as a director of the Math and Science Academy with the duties empowered by the Minnesota Legislature. This power puts you and the other members of our Board of Directors in the position of being both morally and legally responsible for the equitable, quality education of every student in the Math and Science Academy. In carrying out this responsibility, you will be asked to fulfill the roles of vision, structure, accountability, and advocacy. In providing vision, the board, with extensive participation of the community, envisions the community's educational future, then formulates the goals, defines the outcomes, and sets the course for the public schools. To achieve the vision, the board of directors establishes a structure and creates an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. Because as board of directors, we must be accountable to the community, we must ensure continuous assessment of the student achievement at all conditions affecting the education of our children. As members of the board of directors, we serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students and our community to advance the vision for our school. Furthermore, we must strive to work together with the director and staff to lead the Math and Science Academy toward fulfilling the vision we have created, and in fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills and knowledge, citizenship, and personal development. By signing this document, you accept appointment to the Math and Science Academy's Board of Directors, and you hereby publicly confirm your commitment to the oath of office. So can you repeat after me? I swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I swear and affirm that I will support the constitutions of the United States
and the state of Minnesota,
and the state of Minnesota,
and that I will discharge faithfully
and that I will discharge faithfully
my duties as a member of the Math and Science Academy's Board of Directors
my duties as a member of the Math and Science Academy's Board of Directors
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Okay, thank you and welcome. So I'll have you sign.
Here's pens.
Yeah, I have a purple pen. Sorry, I should have, yeah, have a nice one. And you guys can keep this copy.
Green, okay?
And take a seat, please. Can I use your pen?
Yeah, it's not working.
It'd be difficult.
I mean, little.
This one works. You got one? So first and only, I believe, topic for tonight is the next meeting date, time. So we have had discussions as a board, the previous board, over changing the dates, but we can keep the same, we can change it, it's up to us. There's nothing, no rule about which night we meet. We can also just do one on July that works for us and then set the calendar for the following, which is, I think what we're kind of leaning towards is moving some of these organizational things to the next meeting. So I think, I would say that the week of the 4th is probably not a good week for many. So any proposal for the week of the 10th, the 17th, or the 24th?
I'm not available on the week of the 10th.
The week of the 10th, okay.
And I'm actually unavailable the week of the 17th for something we committed to
Would-
back in January.
Would the week of the 24th work for everybody, a night that week?
24th works for me.
That Monday, the 24th?
24th does not
Does
work
not.
for me.
25th
Any day that week works for me, I'll
Okay.
just put that out there.
25th works.
works?
25th does not work for me. I think 26 or 27 would.
Okay, does the 26th work for people? Wednesday, the 26th, I'm hearing? Heddle?
Is this in person?
Yes.
Yeah, it would have to be in person.
Did we say 25th?
26th is the current, feel like an auctioneer,
We're 24th and 25th on the table?
but not available
NRD
for.
is not available.
Okay. So options are 26th or 27th?
Yeah. Do you have a preference?
26th?
6,
I think 6 was the majority. Steph?
Oh,
26?
yeah.
26?
Yeah.
I'm saying the time, if,
Oh.
on the 26th, do we, because it's not a full meeting, I'm thinking, well, we do have some training though. 2 hours? What do you
I'd say
think?
about 2 hours.
From
Just
6,
the plan
6
for
to
it,
8,
yeah.
or do you want a different time?
I have no schedule, so I'm. If
5
you have
to-
more, what time do you
Dinner
have?
sometimes is difficult to
Yeah.
get in there, but, is that okay?
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, earlier is better, but I'm
5 to 7?
opposed, anybody?
4 to 6.
That's
Mm,
too
yeah.
Too
Too early?
I think I can do
Okay.
that.
Travel time.
Takes me over an
5
hour
to
to
7?
get here.
Is that okay? Okay.
Bring some-
Fives.
I will make a motion that our first meeting will be 5 to 7, an organizational meeting on July 26th. Can I get a second?
About the 7th.
Second?
I heard Wendell first, I think. Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes, what do we have? 3, 6, 7. Passes 7 to 0. So, great. Thank you, everyone, for hanging in there. So I believe that's it, because that organizational meeting section will now be happening at the next one. That means you will get information, there was already in the packet, but the duties of the board officers, if you are interested in running, submit your name. And then, what else do we have? Committees will be discussed then, we'll set the calendar, and the student representative discussion.
Are we looking at the salary scales, or is that waiting another time?
That can wait till.
Okay.
On our next regular meeting.
But actually, I would advise that be done during the teacher, when we revisit the teacher salary, do it all at once.
So
Okay.
next spring.
Yeah.
I have just a quick question, because I don't know if this is under the board's purview or not, so I'm asking for a point of clarification, but I know in the past, the board has approved both the activities handbook and the student handbook. And that activities handbook, because of when fall sports start, like football and volleyball, is usually that second week in August. So our August meeting, the August meeting typically is after sports have started. So do we need to look at least a first read of student handbook and activities handbook in July?
I don't know if we usually done a first read, I think it might be nice to get them approved, because I know they like Joelle and Justin, like to get everything out to parents for
Beginning of
August.
August,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm just
And
thinking.
our meeting won't be till like third week of August.
And since the way we did it tonight, I think we can put it on the agenda, I guess.
Since
Or is
we're-
organizational meetings strictly supposed to be organizational?
I think it's up to us. If there's some administrative thing, I think we can also handle that there,
Or would
right?
that be like organization meeting, then like a special meeting afterwards, maybe? Right? I think, let's verbiage with the bylaws,
Yeah,
let's
keep it
separate them
separate.
out.
Okay.
So host a special meeting after the organizational meeting to approve.
Approve those handbooks.
And then hopefully we can have them a good week in advance. 'Cause those are-
Yeah, we're working on the student handbook right now. It's,
It was on our future items for July.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's,
So it's just
it's getting
basically
there.
taking
There's
the
this,
July business.
there's just been new policies that have been asked to be put in the student handbook, so there was a meeting this morning. So,
Okay, so good question. The future items, we had the board training in July.
That-
I guess
That's part of that organizational
It is.
meeting,
Any
right?
questions on that? And if there are, send me a note. I'm happy to help with. But basically, you will have, as required by state of Minnesota, you'll have to do some external training, 3 different sessions. And Wendell, I think, might be one of our more recent ones, who haven't just done it.
Yeah, I would advise going through MAX. It's the Minnesota Association of Charter Schools. You do need to request a login. So if you go into their login profile, just say request login, then you just state that you are an onboarding member, and they'll send you all the information. You'll have resources there.
What is spelled? Is
MAC.
this an acronym?
MACS.
Yes.
Okay.
And Randy, can you
MACS.
help if there's any questions?
Yeah, let me know. It's the Minnesota Association of Charter Schools.
Yeah.
And you don't pay for it, the school will pay for
Yeah.
it.
Just email Emma and Shani, and they'll set it up for you, and when you want to take it. I know there was an email out through MSBA about a charter-specific one
In August, right?
in August, but I would just advise going through Max, because,
Consistent.
yeah, we have membership through both, so.
Okay,
What was the other handbook called?
Activities
and student parent.
Yes, okay, I got the student parent, but the activities is a separate one, right?
Correct.
And then will Justin, I'm asking as the only non-MSA employee being added to the board tonight, will Justin be sending us?
Yes.
Login
Yep,
information
yep,
for?
yep.
I'll
Is
have
there an
them set
email?
up a MSA email for you.
Would
And
you,
all school board stuff goes through that one, no personal emails.
phone number for her? Can
And if
coach
you
her
could
through
throw it on the
Google?
website, a number you're comfortable with putting on the
You have to do
website.
that too,
What do I need to do?
a phone number, so you have to either, because you don't want to give out your personal number, you probably want to create, like,
I
you do a
did Google Voice,
Google Voice.
so that's, sorry, but that's not my real number.
Yeah.
So if I ever need to burn that one, I can, because I'm a little scared to put
Your
numbers on the
class
website.
numbers should be available.
Look into
Put the
a,
school email or school.
Yeah, but for those non-teacher
Yeah,
members,
yep.
a Google Voice would be way to go.
plus or minuses, I would just say I know we have a lot of topics, but we need to be a timing, we gotta figure out how to not stay so late. Yeah, apologies for the folks that waited for hours for us, but thanks for hanging in there. Anything that went well? Nothing? Okay.
So hard.
Hard conversation was had, but it had to been.
Yep, yep,
And I do see that as a positive.
yeah. I think we need to have debate. There's no point in having everyone think the same. We don't need so many people here. Okay, good. So then I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn at 10:02 PM. Second, Mary seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, did you vote?
You
You voted for?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we are adjourned.